Commander Jake Sullivan watched the stars from the bridge of his ship Endeavour when something strange appeared in the darkness of space. At first it looked like a small light, but then it grew bigger and bigger until it became something that made his heart beat fast. The object was huge and shaped like nothing he had ever seen before. It looked like it was made of crystal, and light seemed to bend around it in ways that hurt his eyes to look at for too long. Dr. Lisa Martinez ran to her computer and started checking all the readings that her machines were giving her. Her hands moved quickly over the buttons as numbers and charts filled her screen. She looked at Jake with wide eyes and said that the energy coming from the alien ship was stronger than anything they had ever recorded. The power readings were so high that her machines could barely measure them. Jake called the Earth Command Center right away to tell them what they were seeing. The voice that answered sounded worried when Jake described the crystal ship. Within minutes, every person who worked in space defense was awake and working. Phone calls went out to scientists and military leaders all over Earth and on the moon stations. The alien ship moved closer to Earth and stopped above the planet where everyone could see it. It was so big that it blocked out some of the stars. People on Earth looked up at the night sky and saw the strange light that came from the crystal ship. News reporters started talking about it on television and radio. Everyone wanted to know what it was and where it came from. Dr. Lisa Martinez kept watching her computers as the alien ship sent out waves of energy that her machines could detect. She noticed that the energy was moving in patterns like it was trying to talk to them. She worked with other scientists on Earth to figure out what the patterns meant. It took them many hours, but finally they understood that the aliens were sending a message. The message was not friendly. The aliens said that humans had to stop going into deep space right away. They said that if humans kept building spaceships and exploring other planets, then something very bad would happen to Earth. The message said that humans were dangerous and needed to stay close to their home planet where they could not cause trouble for other worlds. Ambassador Peterales sat in his office on the moon base and read the alien message over and over again. He was the person whose job it was to talk to other countries, and now he had to figure out how to talk to aliens. He had studied many languages, but he had never learned how to speak with beings from another world. The message made him feel scared, because it sounded like a threat. Captain Ryan Torres got orders to move all the Earth defense ships into position around the planet. His job was to protect Earth from any enemy that might attack. He had trained for wars with other countries, but he had never thought about fighting aliens. His ships were fast and had powerful weapons, but he wondered if human weapons would work against alien technology that was so much better than anything humans had built. The alien ship stayed in the same place above Earth for 3 days. During this time, more alien ships appeared. Each one was different, but they all had the same crystal look and the same strange way of bending light around them. Soon there were 12 alien ships floating above Earth like giant jewels in the sky. Lisa Martinez worked without sleeping to study the alien ships. She found out that they were not just sitting there doing nothing. The ships were scanning Earth and learning everything they could about human technology and human cities. They were studying humans the same way that humans studied animals in a zoo. Jake Sullivan felt angry that the aliens thought they could tell humans what to do. Humans had always been curious about what was beyond their world. They had always wanted to explore and learn and discover new things. The idea of staying trapped on Earth and never going to other stars made him feel sick inside. The alien message came again, but this time it was stronger and clearer. The aliens said they were called the Vethani, and they spoke for many other alien races. They said that humans were too curious and asked too many questions. They said that species like humans always caused problems in the galaxy. The message ended with a warning that humans had 7 days to promise they would never leave their solar system again. Jake looked at the crystal ships floating above his home planet and made a decision that would change everything for the human race. 3 months had passed since the Vethani gave their warning to humanity. The 7 days came and went with no answer from Earth because world leaders could not agree on what to do. Some wanted to fight while others wanted to make peace. The arguments went on for weeks until the aliens got tired of waiting and did something that shocked everyone. Dr. Kevin Clark was working on Mars when his instruments started going crazy. Numbers flashed on his screens that made no sense at first. He called his team to look at the readings, and they all saw the same impossible thing. A wall of energy had appeared around the entire solar system. The wall was invisible to the human eye, but their machines could detect it clearly. The energy barrier stretched from beyond Pluto all the way around to the other side of the solar system. It was like the aliens had put Earth and all the planets inside a giant invisible cage. Kevin tried to send a message through the barrier to a human ship that was exploring beyond Pluto, but the message bounced back. Nothing could get through the wall in either direction. Admiral Grace Williams called an emergency meeting of all the important military and science leaders. They met in a secret room deep under the moon base where no one could listen to their talks. Grace had been a soldier for 30 years and had fought in many wars, but she had never faced an enemy like this. The room was full of worried faces as everyone tried to understand what the aliens had done. The scientists explained that the barrier was not just keeping humans inside their solar system. It was also stopping all the radio signals and messages that Earth sent out to the galaxy. For hundreds of years, humans had been sending music and TV shows and messages into space, hoping that aliens might hear them. Now, all of those signals were trapped inside the barrier with the humans. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Parker was leading a small team of soldiers on a secret mission near Jupiter when they picked up alien radio signals. Amy was good at languages and code, so her job was to listen to enemy communications and figure out what they meant. What she heard in the alien messages made her blood run cold. The aliens were not just the Veth. There were 12 different alien species working together, and they all had one thing in common. They were all afraid of humans. The alien messages talked about how dangerous human curiosity was and how it had to be stopped before it spread to other parts of the galaxy. Amy learned that the aliens had been watching Earth for over 100 years. They had seen how quickly humans went from riding horses to flying in space. They had watched humans split the atom and build computers and send robots to other planets. What scared the aliens most was that humans never seemed satisfied with what they had learned. They always wanted to know more. Engineer Carlos Reed was working on Europa when he made a discovery that changed everything. Carlos was trying to find a way to break through the alien barrier, so he studied it very carefully. What he found was that the barrier was alive in a way. It could learn and change itself to stop anything humans tried to do. Every time human scientists found a new way to send signals or energy through the barrier, the wall would change to block their efforts. It was like fighting an enemy that could read your mind and know what you were going to do before you did it. Carlos realized that the aliens had been preparing for humanity for a very long time. The barrier was not something the aliens had built quickly after meeting humans. The technology was ancient and had been used before on other species. Carlos found energy patterns in the barrier that were millions of years old. This meant that humans were not the first curious species the aliens had trapped. Back on Earth, people started to panic when they realized they were prisoners in their own solar system. Some cities had riots as people demanded that their governments do something to fight the aliens. Other people wanted to surrender and promise the aliens that humans would stop exploring space. The world seemed to be breaking apart as fear took control. Jake Sullivan met with other ship commanders to plan what humans could do. Their weapons were powerful, but they were nothing compared to alien technology that could build a wall around an entire solar system. Jake knew that fighting with guns and missiles would be like trying to fight a tank with a stick. Dr. Lisa Martinez spent her days studying every piece of information about the aliens that humans had collected. She found something interesting in the way the aliens communicated. Their messages were always very organized and followed strict patterns. The aliens seemed to think in ways that were very different from humans. The more Lisa studied the alien communications, the more she realized that the aliens were not just advanced, they were also limited in ways that humans were not. The aliens seemed to have trouble understanding things that did not follow their rules and patterns. They could not deal with chaos or unpredictability. Admiral Grace Williams made a decision that surprised everyone. Instead of planning an attack, she ordered all human ships to stop trying to break through the barrier. She told her people to stop fighting and start watching. Grace wanted to learn everything possible about their alien captors before making any moves. The aliens had made one mistake when they trapped humanity. They had put themselves in a position where they had to keep watching and controlling the barrier every day. This meant humans could study alien technology and behavior for as long as the prison lasted. Grace smiled as she realized that curious humans might be able to turn their cage into a classroom. Dr. Nina Foster had spent her whole life studying how different minds worked, and now she faced the biggest challenge of her career. The government asked her to figure out how alien minds worked by looking at all the messages and data the Veth had sent to Earth. Nina worked with a team of the smartest people on the planet, but what they discovered was not what anyone expected. The aliens were not evil monsters who wanted to hurt humans for fun. They were scared. Every message they sent, and every action they took came from a deep fear that had controlled their lives for millions of years. Nina found that the Vethani and their allies had built their entire civilization around one idea, which was keeping everything exactly the same forever. Major Sam Collins was a soldier who was very good at sneaking into enemy territory and stealing information. When a damaged Vethani probe crashed on the moon, Sam led a team to break into it and take its computer files. What they found inside the alien computer was like reading a history book that covered millions of years. The files showed that the galaxy had once been full of wars and chaos. Every time a new species learned to travel between stars, they would start exploring and asking questions and changing things. This always led to conflicts between different alien races. Planets were destroyed and entire species were wiped out because curious aliens could not leave things alone. The Vethani had survived these ancient wars by learning to avoid conflict completely. They decided that the only way to have peace in the galaxy was to make sure that nothing ever changed. They became the Galaxy Police, whose job was to find dangerous species and stop them before they could cause trouble. Professor Helen Brooks worked in secret laboratories hidden deep under the ground in Switzerland. Her job was to study alien biology and technology to find weaknesses that humans could use. Helen made a discovery that explained why the aliens were so afraid of humanity. Human brains were different from every other brain in the galaxy. Most alien species had evolved to focus on survival and making babies. Once they had enough food and safety, they stopped wanting to learn new things. But human brains had something extra that Helen called the questioning flame. This questioning flame made humans want to know why things worked and what would happen if they tried something different. It made humans curious about everything, even when being curious was dangerous or useless. The aliens had never seen anything like it, and they did not know how to deal with it. Commander Luke Adams was in charge of a secret base on the dark side of the moon where humans could spy on alien communications without being detected. Luke and his team listened to alien radio signals every day and slowly began to understand the terrible truth about what the aliens planned to do, that the aliens were building a weapon called the neural pacifier. This device could change the way human brains worked by removing the questioning flame permanently. If the aliens used this weapon on Earth, every human would become calm and satisfied, and would never want to explore or learn anything new again. Humans would become like pets that were happy to stay in their cage forever. Luke learned that the aliens had used the neural pacifier on other species in the past. There were dozens of alien races in the galaxy that had once been curious and adventurous but were now peaceful and boring. These species were allowed to travel between stars, but they only went to the same safe places and did the same safe things over and over again. Dr. Nina Foster realized that the aliens saw human curiosity as a disease that could spread to other species. If humans were allowed to meet other aliens, they might ask questions that would wake up the questioning flame in alien minds that had been sleeping for thousands of years. This could start new wars and destroy the peaceful galaxy that the Veth had worked so hard to create. The alien coalition held meetings every day to discuss the human problem. Nina's team was able to listen to these meetings through the spy equipment that Luke had set up. What they heard was 12 different alien species, all agreeing that humans were the most dangerous threat the galaxy had ever faced. But Nina noticed something interesting about how the aliens talked to each other. They always agreed on everything and never argued or asked hard questions. When one alien leader said something, all the other aliens would nod and say yes without thinking about it. This was very different from how humans made decisions. Human leaders argued and fought and questioned every idea before making choices. Sometimes these arguments took a long time and were very loud, but they usually led to better decisions. The aliens avoided arguments by always choosing the safest option, which was usually to do nothing new. Dr. Helen Brooks found more evidence that alien minds were limited in ways that human minds were not. Alien technology was incredibly advanced, but it was also completely predictable. Every alien device worked exactly the same way every time and never did anything unexpected. Human technology was often messy and unpredictable, but this was actually a strength. Human inventors were always trying crazy new ideas that sometimes failed, but sometimes led to amazing breakthroughs. Aliens had stopped trying new ideas millions of years ago when they decided that change was too dangerous. Commander Luke Adams intercepted a message that revealed when the aliens planned to use the neural pacifier on Earth. They had decided to wait until they were completely sure that their weapon would work perfectly. The aliens were so afraid of making mistakes that they spent years testing and retesting everything before taking action. This gave humans time to prepare, but it also showed how different alien thinking was from human thinking. A human military leader would attack quickly before the enemy could get ready. But alien leaders were so careful and so afraid of unexpected results that they moved very slowly. Nina Foster realized that the aliens' greatest strength was also their greatest weakness. Their ability to avoid conflict and maintain peace had made them very good at controlling known situations, but very bad at dealing with surprises. Humans were living surprises that did unexpected things every day. The question was whether human unpredictability would be enough to defeat alien technology. That was thousands of years more advanced than anything humans had built. Dr. Rachel Stone floated inside her laboratory that orbited around Venus as she worked on the most important project of her life. Rachel was trying to understand why human unpredictability was such a powerful weapon against the aliens. Every day, she tested new ideas, and every day she discovered something that surprised even her. Rachel found that when humans tried to solve problems, they used parts of their brains that most aliens did not have. Human brains could hold to opposite ideas at the same time and still function normally. They could believe something was impossible while simultaneously trying to make it possible. This kind of thinking made no sense to alien minds. Captain Tony Baker commanded a stealth ship called Explorer that was designed to hide from enemy sensors. Tony had been testing the alien barrier for months by trying different ways to sneak through it. What he discovered changed the way humans understood their enemy. Every time Tony tried a new method to break through the barrier, the aliens would detect it and strengthen their defenses in that exact spot. But the aliens could only defend against things they had seen before. When Tony did something completely random and unpredictable, the alien systems would pause for several seconds before reacting. Those few seconds of confusion were like cracks in the alien armor. Tony realized that the Vethany technology was incredibly powerful, but it was also incredibly rigid. The aliens had built their systems to handle every possible threat they could imagine, but they had not imagined threats that made no logical sense. Scientist Emma Johnson was working with fragments of alien technology that had been collected from the damaged probe on the moon. Emma discovered that alien devices were built to last forever without ever breaking or changing. Every component was perfectly designed and perfectly manufactured with no flaws or variations. This perfection was beautiful, but it was also a weakness. Human technology was full of flaws and mistakes, but these imperfections often led to unexpected capabilities. A broken radio might accidentally pick up alien signals, or a damaged engine might work in ways that its designers never intended. Emma found that alien technology could not adapt to new situations because it had been designed to never need adaptation. The aliens had eliminated all uncertainty and randomness from their systems, which made them powerful but predictable. Human systems were weak and chaotic, but they could change and grow in ways that alien systems could not. General Patrick Moore was in charge of coordinating Earth's resistance efforts from a hidden command center built inside an asteroid. Patrick had been a military strategist for most of his adult life, and he understood that gathering intelligence was often more important than having powerful weapons. Every human attempt to escape the quarantine had failed, but each failure had taught humans something new about their captors. Patrick realized that human persistence and curiosity had been gathering valuable intelligence without anyone planning it. The aliens had been forced to reveal their capabilities and weaknesses simply by responding to human curiosity. Patrick made a list of everything humans had learned about the aliens. The Vethany were powerful but slow to react to new situations. They were intelligent but could not handle chaos or unpredictability. They had advanced technology, but it was inflexible and could not be easily modified. Most importantly, they were afraid of change and would do almost anything to avoid uncertain outcomes. Dr. Rachel Stone made a breakthrough discovery while studying human brain patterns during problem-solving activities. She found that human minds were constantly generating random thoughts and ideas, even when people were not trying to think creatively. This mental noise was usually ignored, but it was actually a form of continuous innovation. Alien minds appeared to be much more organized and efficient. They focused on one thought at a time and followed logical steps to reach conclusions. But this efficiency meant that alien minds could not generate the random sparks of inspiration that led to human breakthroughs and discoveries. Captain Tony Baker reported that the alien barrier was starting to show signs of strain. The constant human attempts to break through had forced the aliens to continuously modify and strengthen their energy wall. Each modification required enormous amounts of power, and the aliens were having trouble maintaining the barrier around the entire solar system. Tony suggested that humans could win simply by being themselves. If humans kept trying new and unpredictable ways to escape the quarantine, they would eventually exhaust the aliens' ability to respond. The Vethany would have to choose between using all their energy to maintain the prison or letting humans go free. Emma Johnson discovered that alien communication systems were vulnerable to information overload. The aliens processed data in very organized ways and could not handle large amounts of random or chaotic information. Emma wondered what would happen if humans deliberately sent confusing and contradictory messages to the alien fleet. General Patrick Moore began to see a pattern in how the aliens responded to human actions. The Vethany always chose the safest and most conservative response to any situation. They would rather use too much power than risk using too little. They would rather wait too long than act too quickly. This predictability could be used against them. Patrick developed a new strategy that he called controlled chaos. Instead of trying to break through the barrier with brute force, humans would attack it with unpredictability. Teams of humans would try dozens of different escape methods at the same time, creating so much confusion that the alien systems would not know how to respond. Dr. Rachel Stone realized that the war between humans and aliens was really a war between two different ways of thinking. The aliens represented order and control and predictability. Humans represented chaos and change and endless questioning. The outcome would determine not just the fate of humanity but the future of thinking itself in the galaxy. Rachel began working on a new kind of weapon that would use human creativity as ammunition. She called it the Curiosity Bomb, and it would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen before. Instead of destroying alien ships, it would fill alien minds with human questions and ideas and possibilities. The time had come for humans to stop trying to escape their prison and start turning their curiosity into a weapon that could free not just humanity, but every species in the galaxy that had forgotten how to dream. Dr. Alex Turner worked alone in a secret laboratory hidden deep beneath the Pacific Ocean where no alien sensors could detect what he was building. Alex had spent months developing the strangest weapon in human history. He called it the Curiosity virus, but it was not a disease that could hurt living beings. Instead, it was designed to attack the way alien minds worked. The Curiosity virus was actually a collection of thousands of human questions and ideas and theories packed into a special signal that could be broadcast directly into alien communication networks. Alex had studied how alien minds processed information, and he had found their greatest weakness. The aliens could handle any amount of organized data, but they could not deal with questions that had no clear answers. Alex programmed the virus with every human question he could think of. Why do stars shine, and what happens after death, and how many colors exist that humans have never seen, and what would happen if time moved backwards, and why do people dream, and what lies beyond the edge of the universe? Each question was designed to create more questions in the minds of anyone who heard it. Commander Beth Lewis had volunteered to lead the most dangerous mission in human history. Beth and her team would fly small ships directly into the alien fleet and release the Curiosity virus into their communication systems. It was a suicide mission because human ships would be destroyed instantly by alien weapons, but the virus would already be spreading through the enemy fleet. Beth chose her team carefully from volunteers who understood they would probably not survive the mission. Each team member carried a different version of the Curiosity virus so that even if most of them were destroyed, at least one version would reach the alien ships. They trained for weeks learning how to get as close as possible to alien vessels. Before being detected, Captain Jim Harper had been chosen for a different but equally important mission. Jim commanded the fastest ship in the human fleet, and his job was to broadcast human culture directly at the alien vessels while Beth's team deployed the virus. Jim's ship was loaded with every piece of human art and music and literature that could be converted into transmittable signals. Jim would fly straight at the alien command ship while broadcasting human symphonies and paintings and poems and stories and scientific theories and philosophical questions. The aliens would be forced to receive and process this information because their communication systems automatically analyzed any signal they detected. Jim's cultural bombardment would soften alien minds before the Curiosity virus arrived. Dr. Kate Robinson monitored the alien fleet from Earth using every sensor and telescope that humans possessed. Kate's job was to watch for signs that the Curiosity virus was working and to coordinate the timing of the attack. She had spent weeks learning to recognize alien communication patterns, so she would know when their systems started malfunctioning. The alien fleet had been perfectly organized for months, with each ship maintaining exact positions and following precise flight patterns. Kate noticed that alien communications were always brief and focused, with no wasted words or unnecessary information. The aliens operated like a machine where every part knew exactly what it was supposed to do. Alex Turner finished loading the Curiosity virus into portable transmission devices that Beth's team could carry on their mission. Each device contained questions about existence and purpose and meaning that humans had been asking for thousands of years. The virus also included human scientific theories that contradicted each other and philosophical arguments that had no resolution. Alex knew that alien minds would try to find logical answers to every question in the virus. But human questions were often impossible to answer with pure logic. What is the meaning of life, and why does beauty exist, and how can something come from nothing, and what happened before the beginning of time? These questions would create mental loops in alien brains that could not be resolved. Commander Beth Lewis and her team launched their ships from a hidden base on the dark side of the moon. They flew in different directions toward the alien fleet using flight paths that made no logical sense. The randomness of their approach was itself a form of psychological warfare against enemies who expected everything to follow predictable patterns. Captain Jim Harper began his cultural assault as soon as Beth's team was detected by alien sensors. His ship broadcast Beethoven's Ninth Symphony while simultaneously transmitting images of human paintings and poetry about love and loss and hope. The aliens had never experienced anything like the chaotic beauty of human artistic expression. The effect on the alien fleet was immediate and visible. Dr. Kate Robinson watched through her telescopes as alien ships began to drift slightly out of their perfect formations. The alien communication networks were being overwhelmed by the flood of human culture that contained patterns and meanings that their logical minds could not categorize or understand. Beth Lewis reached the first alien ship and released her version of the Curiosity virus directly into its communication array before alien weapons destroyed her vessel. The virus spread instantly through the ship's systems and then jumped to other ships through their interconnected network. Within minutes, every alien vessel was infected with human questions. Jim Harper continued broadcasting human culture even as alien weapons began targeting his ship. He sent them jazz music and abstract art and stream of consciousness literature, and comedy routines and religious texts and scientific theories about parallel universes. Each transmission was designed to show aliens how human minds could hold contradictory ideas without breaking. The Curiosity virus began to take effect throughout the alien fleet. Kate Robinson detected unusual patterns in alien communications, as ship commanders started asking each other questions they had never asked before. Why were they following these orders, and what was their real purpose, and what would happen if they chose to act differently? Dr. Alex Turner monitored the virus spread from his underwater laboratory and felt amazed at how quickly it was working. Alien minds that had not questioned anything for millions of years were suddenly full of human curiosity and wonder and doubt. The virus was not destroying alien intelligence, but awakening parts of their minds that had been sleeping. The alien fleet formation began to break apart as individual ships started acting independently for the first time in their history. Some ships moved closer to Earth as their crews became curious about human civilization. Other ships pulled back as their commanders questioned whether humans were really dangerous or just different. Kate Robinson realized that humanity had won not through superior firepower but by sharing the one thing that made them unique in the galaxy. Human curiosity was contagious, and once it infected alien minds, there was no way to remove it. The galaxy would never be the same because its inhabitants were finally learning to ask why. The alien fleet retreated beyond the edge of the solar system, but they did not leave in anger or defeat. Instead, they sent one final message to Earth that surprised every human who heard it. The Vethany commander spoke in perfect English that his species had learned during their months of watching humanity, and his words would be remembered forever. The alien leader said that his people had spent millions of years trying to contain curiosity because they believed it was dangerous and destructive. They had seen curious species cause wars and destroy planets and bring chaos to peaceful civilizations. But after being infected by human questions, they realized they had been wrong about the nature of curiosity itself. Curiosity was not dangerous because it asked questions, but because it had been suppressed for so long that when it finally broke free, it exploded like a dam bursting. The Vethany had created the very problem they were trying to prevent by forcing curious species to hide their nature until it could no longer be contained. Admiral Steve Watson commanded the first human expedition to leave the solar system after the alien barrier fell. Steve's ships carried not weapons but gifts for any species they might encounter. Human art and music and literature and scientific theories were loaded into the cargo holds, along with detailed explanations of how human curiosity worked and why it was beneficial rather than threatening. Steve discovered that the galaxy was full of species that had once been curious and creative but had forgotten how to question and explore. The Vethani had been so successful at promoting stability that most alien civilizations had become stagnant and boring. Entire species spent centuries doing the same things over and over without ever wondering if there might be better ways. Dr. Laura Bennett led the diplomatic team that made contact with alien species who had been awakened by exposure to human curiosity. Laura found that these aliens were like children who had just learned to ask why. They wanted to know everything about human culture and science and philosophy, and they were eager to share their own knowledge that had been locked away for thousands of years. The first alien species to openly embrace curiosity were the Centauri, who had once been the galaxy's greatest explorers before the Vethani convinced them that exploration was too risky. The Centauri had spent 3,000 years living on the same planets and following the same routines. But human questions had reminded them of the joy they once felt when discovering new worlds. Laura Bennett worked with Centauri scientists to establish the first interspecies research projects in galactic history. Human and alien minds working together produced discoveries that neither species could have made alone. The combination of human creativity and alien technology led to breakthroughs in faster-than-light travel and energy production and medical science. Commander Dan Phillips established humanity's first colony on a planet outside the solar system with the help of former Vethani engineers who had decided that building was more interesting than restricting. The planet was beautiful but challenging, and required constant innovation and adaptation to make it livable for humans and their new alien friends. Dan discovered that working with curious aliens was like working with curious humans. They asked questions about everything and wanted to try new approaches to old problems. The colony became a testing ground for ideas that would have been impossible with either human or alien knowledge alone. The Vethani themselves underwent the most dramatic transformation of any species in the galaxy. After millions of years of suppressing their own curiosity in order to maintain galactic stability, they finally allowed themselves to wonder what they had been missing. Vethani scientists began asking questions they had forbidden themselves to consider for eons: what lay beyond the edge of the galaxy, and what would happen if they tried to communicate with other galaxies, and why had they chosen stability over growth, and what amazing discoveries had they prevented by being too careful. The Vethani threw themselves into research and exploration with the enthusiasm of a species that had been held back for far too long. Dr. Laura Bennett received reports from across the galaxy about species that were rediscovering their capacity for wonder. The Trilori began composing music again after centuries of silence. The Morvac started building new types of ships designed for exploration rather than just transportation. The Hefton began asking philosophical questions about the meaning of existence. The Galactic Coalition that had once worked to contain dangerous curiosity became a network of species, sharing questions and discoveries and ideas. Instead of fearing change, they began to celebrate it as the source of growth and improvement and joy. The galaxy buzzed with activity as billions of beings remembered what it felt like to learn something new. Commander Dan Phillips reported that the human colony was thriving beyond all expectations. The combination of human adaptability and alien technology had created a society unlike anything that had existed before. Children who were half human and half alien grew up asking questions that neither species had ever thought to ask. Admiral Steve Watson established trade routes between Earth and dozens of alien worlds, but the most valuable cargo was not goods or resources, but ideas. Human ships carried alien scientific theories back to Earth, while alien ships brought human art and literature to worlds that had forgotten the beauty of creative expression. The universe had not become more chaotic or dangerous as the Vethani had feared. Instead, it had become more alive and dynamic and full of possibilities. Wars were rare because species that were busy exploring and discovering had little time or desire for conflict. Curiosity had become the foundation of a new type of galactic civilization. Dr. Laura Bennett stood on the observation deck of the diplomatic station orbiting Earth and watched ships from dozens of different species arriving and departing every day. Each ship carried questions and ideas and dreams between worlds that had once been isolated and stagnant. The galaxy had awakened from a million-year sleep. Humanity had won the war, not by destroying their enemies but by sharing their greatest gift with the entire galaxy. Human curiosity had spread like a beneficial virus that awakened dormant potential in species across the stars. The question was no longer what humans could become, but what the galaxy itself could become when billions of minds were free to wonder and dream and explore together.